Hello everybody, I'm Nairi, this is Fly Little Birds, and I've got two adopted sons who are nearly 13 and 14. And today I'm going to talk to you about what you need to be able to care for a child with childhood trauma. So if you're thinking of fostering or adopting, or you are a foster carer or adopter, this video will be very helpful for you. So just my experiences, okay, just my experiences. So number one, patience. Okay, sounds obvious, I know that you would need patience, because I think any parent needs patience to go through childhood and to see children through all the walks of life, okay? But I think when you're thinking about having a child with childhood trauma, then you need to set out with a higher level of patience. And you need to be prepared to dig deep with them sometimes, talk to them often about how they're feeling, guide them, be an open book with them, and sometimes it means a lot of repetition. So I know with my sons, I've asked them sometimes 1,000 times over about one particular behaviour or one particular thought pattern to try to help them navigate it and to help them through those difficulties. I know when it comes to them dealing with friendships, they really struggle. Friendships always features, people will say to me, well, why is he so angry at the moment? Why is he so anxious at the moment? The two sons kind of act differently, and it will often be about friendships at school. If you've got a younger child, it might be that they seem to be all over the place. You seem to struggle to build attachment with them, or they seem to be overly quiet or overly excitable anyway, and so on and so forth. You need a huge amount of patience because you don't always know the answers. And even if you read excessively, you're trained excessively, you could be the highest level qualified professional in the world, and you still may not be able to get to the bottom of some of the behaviours and difficulties that you might have with your child. So that's the first one. The second one is resilience. You need a higher level of resilience when you're dealing with childhood trauma, because it is going to throw things up for you as well. So unless you've had the perfect life so far, you'll have your own triggers that will happen as you're navigating some of the things that the children have gone through and have experienced and then relive as they go into their adulthood. So you are going to need to be able to bounce back from many a knock and many a fall. Now this is the one I struggle with the most because of my childhood, so I get a lot of triggers, I think, and sometimes I can get very down because I feel like I'm not making progress with them. I feel like sometimes the things that are happening might be targeted back at me, or I just feel like, there is no answer, and I worry about them into the adulthood. I greatly worry about them. So resilience is definitely the hardest one for me, but I do think I have resolved a lot of my childhood issues, albeit they're always going to be there, but I do think I did deal with them in my 30s, and I'm now in my 50s. So I feel like I'm resilient enough to see the process through. So you need to have ways of dealing with things. So you need to have your support network in place. You need to be prepared to ask for help when you need that, and you need to take breaks. And again, reading up and trying to find out about things and different strategies can also help as well. But for me, I lean really heavily on my husband and on my mum, and I'm very lucky, I know, to have that. But our boys have a high level of traumatic childhood trauma. They really do, and so we daily have issues, we daily have problems. So for me, I need to have those kind of ways of building up resilience. I also have a lot of hobbies as well, which I can just do on my own and kind of chill, and I know my husband does as well. So resilience. So number 3 is a very practical one, and that is time. Okay, time. Now, when you're younger and you've got, lots of work commitments and things, and you're trying to make things work financially, you have lots of demands placed on you. Time is really a difficult one, because it's actually the thing that we can sometimes be. We can be time poor at the time when we need to bring children up. So you need to look at your life and actually make some adjustments if you feel that your week is packed out. And actually, I think it's really important you don't pack your week out as well with the children and put them into too many things and do too many things with them, because they need time to unwind. You need time to unwind and reflect, time to talk about things, time to be together to build up attachment. And it's very easy to become distracted by life's burdens and difficulties and forget that actually the most wholesome thing that you need to be able to deal with childhood trauma is time. Because I can spend hours listening to the boys, I mean hours. One of them has verbal communication issues, so it takes hours to get to the bottom and unravel things, and the other one will definitely spend a long time being angry and shouting at me before we ever get to the bottom of what it is we need to get to the bottom of. So I can be of perhaps after school a couple of hours sorting them both out, and so I need the time to do that. Now, I'm not saying that you will have those situations, and what I would say is that you may not have any of the situations I'm talking about. You may adopt or foster, and actually it might be really, really plain sailing, and people do get frustrated with me sometimes, I think, when I talk about these things, because maybe they think I'm being negative about the children, but that could not be further from the truth. I'm here to help you navigate what you may come up against. So yeah, time as a family, time to sit down and talk with them, and just to be free. We're here when the boys come home from school, and there's no way that we could cope if we weren't, because those things would escalate sort of hugely. And I'm not saying that I would want them to be on their own coming home from school at their age, but we've always been there for them when they come home, and that has been for us really, really important. So the next one, number 4. So I'm going to say knowledge about adoption especially, but fostering is important as well. So you need to know what you're letting yourself in for when you're going to be thinking about parenting children with childhood trauma, and the type of behaviours that they can present with, because they can be extreme. They may not be, but they can be extreme, and we've had extreme behaviours to deal with regularly. And so I think if we didn't know that before we had gone into it, we would have really, really struggled. The fact that we were fostering the boys first meant that we knew what we were likely to let ourselves in for. And even then, to hit teenage years now is super difficult. A lot of the behaviours though were there in the beginning. So the anger was there for one of the children, and the high level of anxiety was there right from when they were 2 and 3 years old. The pattern has not changed. Perhaps the way that we get it thrown at us is different, but the pattern hasn't changed. And so we had inside knowledge because we parented them already. But if we hadn't have had that, then I think we would have needed to know, and the only way that we could have done that would be to talk to other families that deal with children with childhood trauma. That would be my top of the list advice. And to read books, yes, but reading books gives you a background theory and knowledge which only really kicks in once you're in it and you're experiencing it. I think if you talk to and listen to other people that have parented children with childhood trauma, that is probably going to be the most powerful thing for you. But I'm going to put a caveat on that, as sometimes you have to, and that is you can't overanalyze things, because your child will be your child and it may be completely different. You may not have those experiences. So sometimes you hear the most horrific stories and you think, oh my goodness, I can't adopt or I can't foster because I couldn't possibly go through that. And that is those people's stories about those children. So those things don't always happen, and they don't happen with everyone. So knowledge, that's my next one. And my final one is love. Now, in one of my videos I say love isn't enough, and I truly believe that love is not enough, because I think you need all of these other things to be able to parent a child with childhood trauma. You can love a child, intensely love a child, but not cope with the behaviour and not be able to see it through. But if you've got all the other things, you've got patience, you've got resilience, you've got time, you've got knowledge. I've got to think of what my points are here. And you've got all that, but you don't have the love, the deep-seated love, then it won't work either. You definitely need the love. And when I say love, I don't mean like sort of a wishy-washy love. I mean the ability to love unconditionally. So when you don't get anything back, now we get lots of lovely times with our boys when it really is heartwarming and we do get things back. And we know deep down they really love us. We know that from school, we know that from the way they talk about us when we're not around. But there are times when you can't tell they love us. There are times when it is super difficult, and that is a time that we need to draw on that unconditional love and remind ourselves how much we love them and how much we would struggle and miss them and be devastated if we didn't have them. So love is going to be the anchor for everything, and maybe you need to ask yourself if you can draw on love when there is nothing given back to you. So are you the type of person who can be nurturing and who can give out and care and keep going and draw on love when actually there is nothing coming back? So that's a question to ask yourself. So those are 5 points. I hope it helps you. Check out my channel. There are lots and lots of videos on there, lots. I've been going for a few years now. So I'll link a playlist at the end on adoption topics. There are other playlist, as I say, you can call on. But I'll see you on Fly Little Birds. Thank you.